YouTube channel, Tyrone. Let's go!
Ladies and gentlemen, guess what? It's a very special edition of the Good Friends, Better Enemies podcast, because for the very first time, coming to you live from Markham, Ontario, in the beautiful apartment of Mr. J, we are side by side, ready to yell at each other in person. Welcome to the special Friends Are Better Than Good Friends Enemies podcast. Yeah, that's how excited we are. We're here, guys. We're ready. Let's go.
We are going to do it, and it's going to be, to coin a phrase, the humdinger of all humdingers.
We're going to do something that we normally do when we see each other. We're going to start it off with a quick shot.
There you go.
Cheers to everybody. Oh, Jesus Christ.
And that's how you do it. That's how you debate. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to you, as Tyrone alluded to, from Markham, Ontario, Canada. And I am pleased to have him in my company. And this evening, we are covering the 1993 offering of SummerSlam. Pretty big night, pretty big event. What do you have to say about that?
You know what? It was a decent pay-per-view. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. There was definitely some fun things on it. There was some trash, but we'll get to that later. But I think before we touch on this pay-per-view, Jay, something happened. Something happened real recently. And I think, as one would say, it's clobbering time.
Yes, we just finished watching AEW Rampage. I was going to say WCW Rampage. And we got a chance to see CM Punk make his debut in the organization. Now, I have to tell you, Tyrone, sitting beside you, I really enjoyed seeing you go back to your childlike wonderment of professional wrestling fandom, as you had goosebumps and you were almost jaw-droppingly full of joy during this particular segment.
I was one step away from a boner, but if you weren't sitting beside me, it probably would have happened.
I'm just glad it didn't happen while I was sitting beside you, so we're doing okay.
No, it was that, I can't get over that pop. That pop that Punk got was unlike anything. They say Road Warrior pop. I think it should now be called CM Punk pop.
I'm going to stick with the Road Warrior pop, but your point is well, sir. Both from Chicago, by the way, so it makes sense.
So Chicago, that's where it is.
The Chicago pop. How about that?
There we go. I like that.
Chicago mix. That sounds great. Well, yeah, I really enjoyed it as well. I mean, I've been quite vocal about the fact that I've never been the biggest CM Punk mark. I do enjoy his work, but obviously this was a special moment for you and a special moment for a lot of fans out there. I'm really, really happy that he came back. I don't think that they could have done anything other than have him back. I mean, there had been so much hype surrounding this particular event. The United Center sold out super fast, so I don't really think there would have been any other way to open up this show.
No, there wasn't. I texted you actually yesterday, the day that Rampage was airing, and said I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't show up and there was another pro wrestling swerve in front of us where everybody's so stoked for it, and all of a sudden we get maybe, I don't want to knock them, but I think that this was their debut as well, formerly known as Everrise, now known as 2.0. I wasn't sure if we were going to get something like that.
Yeah, I think AEW is trying to stay away from the swerves, bro. They're not trying to do as much of that. The WWE even is not doing as much of that as they used to. I think that in the current climate, with social media being so prevalent in the wrestling culture, that you really can't get away with doing a lot of these kind of swerve angles anymore without having a lot of backlash. So I think you kind of had to go with this particular open. And again, we talked about it being the opening segment on the show. How could you have waited till the end of the show? I heard some people talking about, it should have been the last segment. Well, the crowd would have completely hijacked that show had they not seen CM Punk immediately.
100%. And I mean, especially considering it's only an hour-long program, why not have them open it, put some kick-ass wrestling on after? Lucha Express, can't ever say enough good things about them. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Jurassic Express, absolutely.
That's what I meant. Apologies.
Yeah, that's okay. We just did a shot of bourbon, so we're doing good. Good old Baltimore, bringing them in with the Jungle Boy theme song. Really enjoyed that. We both had a couple of steps in our toes in our step. I don't know we were tapping our toes. That's what we were doing, watching that particular segment. So very, very excited about CM Punk and about AEW. But as we record this right now, we're hours away from this evening's offering of SummerSlam 2021. Before we get into SummerSlam, we've covered it quite a bit already, so I don't think we need to really make a meal out of it, but we will talk a little bit about tomorrow night's offering, NXT. Tyrone?
Oh, this card is pretty stacked for a takeover, as always. It's always will takeover be a better show than the main roster, or will the main roster turn out a better one? 9 times out of 10, it's takeover. We know that, especially in ring work. This year, this month, I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I think SummerSlam is pretty stacked, and because of implications on the card, matches we've never seen before, i.e. Seth Rollins and Edge, I think SummerSlam could actually take it. But we're going to run down the card for NXT, and I'm going to get Jay to give a prediction on each one, and I will too. So we'll start with the United Kingdom match, which is the one that I am the most excited for. You have Walter defending the United Kingdom Championship against Ilya Dragunov. What do you think?
Walter.
Yeah? You think he's going to keep going?
I think Walter is one of the more established stars on the NXT brand, whether it be UK or the main NXT brand. So I think that they need to kind of keep this momentum going.
They are pushing Ilya Dragunov quite a lot more than any of his other challengers.
That's fair. I mean, there might be an argument to be made that Walter could come up to the main roster. I hope it doesn't happen, and if it does, I'd like to see maybe a Walter versus Brock Lesnar match at some point. I think that'd be worth the price of admission. But as far as this particular match, no, I'm sticking with Walter.
That's fair. I'm going to go with Ilya Dragunov. So we'll be split on that one, and next week we'll see who's laughing. We also have LA Knight defending the $1 Million Championship against Cameron Grimes, with the implication, if Cameron Grimes loses, Ted DiBiase must become LA Knight's butler.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Ted DiBiase as a butler.
I don't. I think Cameron Grimes is finally going to get his comeuppance and win the match.
I don't know. I kind of see them, they've been using Ted DiBiase quite a bit lately, and I don't see his sort of run on television coming to an end quite yet. I think there's some potential for some great storytelling with having DiBiase as a butler of sorts, kind of getting his comeuppance after all these many decades of being the $1 Million Man.
Do you bring Virgil back at all?
No, absolutely not.
All right, that's fair. We also have Raquel Gonzalez defending the NXT Women's Championship against her former best friend, Dakota Kai.
I like Dakota Kai on this one.
I do too. I think it's about damn time that she finally gets her shot and can prove what she can do. Raquel Gonzalez has been dominant, really stepped up her in-ring game, but I think it's time for Dakota Kai.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I couldn't agree more.
The NXT Championship match with Karrion Kross defending against Samoa Joe. I don't think that there's any question on this one that Joe is going to win now that Kross is also on the main roster.
I think so as well. I think it's if they're going to reestablish Joe as a dominant force in NXT, that he needs to go over here. And again, Karrion Kross is all but on the main roster now anyway. So. And
finally, for the first time in, 15 years? A 3 stages of hell match? Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. First fall, traditional wrestling. Second fall, street fight. Third fall, not if, but when needed, because we know it'll get there, a steel cage. This is just an old-fashioned blood feud, and I'm going to take Kyle O'Reilly.
I agree with you. I also agree it's going to go to that third fall. They're not going to do a clean sweep. So I definitely think that you're right, and I could see Adam Cole going to the main roster. We don't know what's happening with Adam Cole yet. But if he is going to stay with the promotion, I don't see him necessarily staying in NXT at this point. I think he might come in after SummerSlam and make a difference in the fall, going into maybe Royal Rumble and Mania season. Actually,
an interesting thought that I just thought of now, as we're still finishing up watching some wrestling in the background. AEW with CM Punk. Do you kind of strap the rocket ship to Adam Cole on the main roster, since they are similar size, great promos? Do you do something along that line with an Adam Cole?
I think they should do that with him regardless. I'm a little concerned that he's going to get that main roster treatment that so many NXT stars have gotten in the past. But I will say that, in terms of comparing CM Punk to Adam Cole in terms of star power, I don't think right now it's comparable. I mean, just based on the hype that was going into CM Punk's return as against Adam Cole, who's obviously very, very over as well, but I don't think quite as well known to maybe casuals as CM Punk is.
No, I get that. I was just kind of spitballing there and hoping for something, but you never really know. You never know. That's very true. Anything can happen to the World Wrestling Federation. Anything can happen in pro wrestling, I think, is what we've learned over the last week.
That is very true. I have to say that I think that this is probably the most interesting time in wrestling in the last 20 years. I dare say since WCW went under. and ECW went under. I feel like this is the most interesting and kind of unpredictable time in wrestling since that time. And also, we're no longer in that holding pattern. I think WWE is to an extent, but they're going to have to learn very quickly with the momentum AEW and some of these other promotions are experiencing. They're going to have to up their game. And so I'm hoping tonight's card is going to really, really satiate some of that complacency that we've all been talking about for a while.
I don't want to say it's the make or break because we know it's not. No matter what, the WWE is going to be the biggest company for a long time. But I feel like if they really shit the bed tonight with the card and with the matches, then it's going to turn a lot of people off, and they're going to go back over to AEW. They're going to be cheering for CM Punk. All Out will be a huge pay-per-view buy rate.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be a huge pay-per-view buy rate no matter what. But I just think that there's so much momentum in AEW's camp right now that the WWE is definitely going to have to answer that with something. So I'm really curious to see where they go with tonight's card and see what the booking is going out of this. I certainly don't hope it's one of those situations that we've had in SummerSlams of years past where we just get a lot of rematches on the following month's pay-per-view. Let's get some definitive blow-offs here. Let's get some definitive fresh angles, and let's see if we can't get something really creatively satiating for the next couple of months.
Well, as I do this, maybe it's time that we start talking some 1993.
I am very excited about this. We had, full disclosure, folks, had a couple of conversations about which SummerSlam we were going to cover. 93 was on the docket. I know exactly how to book this card, at least the main event. I'm very curious to see how Tyrone's done it. 93, very, very transitional year in the WWE, WWF at the time, obviously. So we had the Lex Express and Lex Luger as the heir apparent. Although you have to remember that we had just seen Hulk Hogan drop the WWF title to Yokozuna at the King of the Ring this year. So it was sort of strange that we went from Hulk Hogan winning the title at WrestleMania 9 and then going into dropping the title and then being challenged by Lex Luger, who seemingly got the rocket ship placed on his back super quick, going from a heel to a face, and then, that USS Intrepid, the big slam on Yoko. Very, very interesting time indeed, and I felt like at this point we were really kind of pushing Luger a little too hard.
Yeah, I agree and disagree at the same time. They were looking for the next Hulk Hogan, and at the time, they didn't really have any other options. Luger was the jacked up juice pig. You can make the argument that Bret Hart was the guy to go with because he obviously was, as we've seen. But they wanted the super muscular, made in the USA. They can't do that with a Canadian, so they kind of went Luger. I want to take it back a little minute there to what you said about Hulk Hogan and his title reign and losing it to Yokozuna. Nothing of that title reign should have happened. That title reign shouldn't have happened. The way to get the title off of him, just with that stupid flash bulb fireball thing that the photographer did at King of the Ring.
Yeah.
So dumb. And at that point, you kind of saw it wasn't the main event. And I'm wondering if it was only not the main event because Hogan wasn't going over or because they were actually really trying to make Bret Hart the next main event star.
Well, if that was the case, they never should have taken the title off Bret to begin with. I mean, I could digest Yoko winning the title from Bret at WrestleMania 9. I think that made sense to have Yoko go over. He had all the momentum. And then you could have done a back and forth and done a return at SummerSlam. I would have held off to SummerSlam instead of King of the Ring. But to have Hogan come in, I think it was a knee-jerk reaction by the company because they had him, the availability. Like, why not give him one last title run and squeeze every last drop of juice out of that orange? But I definitely don't think in hindsight it did anybody any favors.
I wouldn't have said juice out of that orange. I would have said juice out of that needle, but I get where you're going.
Yes. He didn't look nearly as juiced in 93, though.
No, he didn't. He kind of looked sickly because he wasn't.
That's exactly right. So I think we are both in agreement that in terms of 93's booking for the main event picture, it was definitely sorely lacking, up until and through the better part of 93. I think the start of 93 was really good with Bret's momentum and then, going over Razor at Rumble, then, Yoko at WrestleMania. He didn't go over him, but that was a pretty well-booked match, with leading up to it. So with that being said, I'm very curious to see what you come up with on this particular card, my friend.
Well, let's get into it, bud.
Sounds good. Well, our opening content. Well, wait, are we doing a dark match?
No dark match.
Okay, well, it was Owen Hart versus Barry Horowitz.
I'm well aware of what it was.
And I'm fine with that staying, actually. Razor Ramon defeating Ted DiBiase in the opening match. And, Tyrone, you and I have talked about 93 quite a bit. WrestleMania 9 is a guilty pleasure for us. SummerSlam 93, kind of the same thing. And this is one of my favorite opening matches in SummerSlam history.
Well, get ready to be disappointed. The opening contest of SummerSlam 1993 is for the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship. And it is Rick and Scott, the Steiner brothers, defending the titles against Dr. Tom Pritchard and the Gigolo Jimmy Del Rey, the Heavenly Bodies, accompanied by James E. Cornette.
And I had a feeling this was going to stay. I like that you're opening the card with this. I think that it's a hot opener. I could make the argument that this would have been a better opener for the show in terms of great action in the ring. I have a feeling I know where this is going, but why don't you go ahead and tell me what the finish is?
So the finish of the match is brand new WWF Tag Team Champions, not cleanly. You do have the interference of James E. Cornette hitting Rick with the tennis racket, which leads into Jimmy Del Rey just sneaking the pin. 1, 2, 3, brand new Tag Team Champs. Now, this probably won't last long because, let's be real, it's the Heavenly Bodies, and for some goddamn reason, they never really saw a lot of them. They were the Smoky Mountain Tag Champs, and that's as far as it got. One of the most underrated tag teams in my mind. I don't think you can argue that.
No, I 100% agree, especially for this era. They were doing some things that weren't really traditional in tag team competition. I mean, we'd seen some incredible feats from the Rockers and teams of that ilk back.
Even the Steiners at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But I felt like for an undersized team, they were really standouts in this particular era, the blasting point of the new generation era. So, yeah, it makes sense to me. I don't know how long they would keep the titles, as you alluded to, but...
It'd probably be a week. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It'd get changed on a house show or at the Raw the next night, something stupid like that.
Yeah, drop it to Diesel and Shawn.
But I just also love the fact that in 1993, we had a wrestler called the Gigolo.
Yes.
Like, his side hustle was he was a hooker.
Yeah, I don't know if people really put 2 and 2 together with that one, but actually I never really even thought about it until you just mentioned it.
That's what he is. We have a doctor and a hooker.
Okay, so the hooker goes out and then the doctor...
prescribes the gonorrhea medication.
Yeah, exactly. So he's cleared, yeah. Perfect. And then what's Jimmy doing? I guess just booking the shots for him.
Jimmy's just ordering them cheeseburgers.
Yeah. Double cheese, double onion.
Extra mayo, motherfucker. My voice can't go as high as Jay's. Yeah. I apologize.
That's okay. I was squeezing my balls.
I'm sitting right here, man.
I didn't say you were squeezing them. All right, next up, we have on the card the Steiner brothers going up against the Heavenly Bodies. So I'm assuming that's changed unless you're doing a best 2 out of 3.
I should have actually just had it switched right there.
We should have done 3 stages of hell for these guys.
Oh, in the Texas Death Match is the final stage. But it would be a Smoky Mountain Death Match. The next match on the card is scheduled for one fall. And it is Razor Ramon going up against the $1 Million Man,
yes!
Ted DiBiase.
Yes! I'm very happy you kept this.
I kept the match the exact same. It's still Razor going over. It was pretty much DiBiase's swan song at this point. And it was a great match. I can't argue that. I just thought we'd reverse the order of the tag title match and the Razor Ramon match because hot opener, go into the singles match.
No, I like that a lot. And I also think that, we talked about this before, you and I, that it was kind of a symbolic match in terms of the changing of the guard. So you had, Ted DiBiase, who's such an established star in the 80s and early 90s. And then he does the fall to Razor Ramon, who was a new emerging star. So I definitely feel as though it was foreshadowing what was to come. But, one of those matches that you're not going to see a lot of them. You're not going to see a lot of these cross-generational matches at this time in the Fed. So I really think that it was important you kept this on the card. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's also Razor Ramon. As I'm sitting here wearing a Razor Ramon t-shirt, you can't hate the man. Scott Hall had his issues later in his career, but goddamn, Razor Ramon still to this day my favorite gimmick of that era. Well, sorry, second favorite gimmick of that era, but we will get to my favorite gimmick very soon.
We certainly will, I'm sure of it. The next match on the card, if you're all finished with that one, is Shawn Michaels defeating Mr. Perfect for the World Wrestling Federation Intercontinental Championship.
Well, nope, we're not doing that next. We have good old evil Doink the Clown, my favorite gimmick of this era, going up against the 1-2-3 Kid.
You know what? I don't hate that at all.
Right? And I have Doink going over.
Yeah.
Because Shawn Waltman, relatively new to the company at this point, they kind of were attaching a rocket ship to him about, I mean, let's be real, it started in, January? That was when Monday Night Raw victory was?
Yeah, was he 1-2-3 Kid at this point, or was he still Lightning Kid?
At this point, he was 1-2-3 Kid, because after he beat Razor, he became the 1-2-3 Kid.
Right.
Which I also love the fact that in 2021, John Cena has almost become the 1-2-3 Kid.
Yes, he has. Yes, with his promos.
It's
definitely.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if I'd say kid, but
well, okay, 1-2-3 rapper. But you have Doink going over because Doink at this point was such a strong heel. On the original card, I believe he faced Bret the Hitman Hart. That's the kind of belief that they had in him. Had him do a great technical match, so I still have him go against a hell of a technical wrestler in Shawn Waltman. You have Doink going over, pisses off the crowd. 1-2-3 Kid's not going to suffer from this at all because he was a jobber 6 months ago.
yeah, well, that match with Bret happened in '94. Actually, it happened.
It did not.
Yes, it did.
Look up Wikipedia right now. He subbed for Jerry the King Lawler.
Okay, well, maybe they wrestled twice on Raw then?
I'm not talking about Raw. No, sorry, I'm talking about Doink and Bret Hart.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about 1-2-3 Kid and Bret Hart.
That did happen in '94.
Yeah,
that was
my apologies.
Fucking fantastic match.
One of the best matches on Raw history, I think. But yeah, so this is good. I like this a lot. And I would love to see heel Doink go over. So, I mean, you're doing good. I have no problem with this whatsoever.
Doink the Clown is one of those gimmicks that, on paper, kind of like The Undertaker, could have been one of the worst fucking things ever.
And it became one.
It did. But when Matt Bourne was playing Doink, it was so perfect because his facial expression sold everything. He was such a good heel. Everybody in the world either loves clowns or hates clowns. So you're either going to cheer the man or boo the man, no matter what. And yeah.
Well, I think no matter what your stance, I mean, you can't deny that the initial Doink offering was outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to say that, had he been booked correctly and perhaps at a different time period, I mean, imagine Doink the Clown, the evil Doink during the Attitude Era. I could see Doink, maybe not in the Attitude Era, but I could see the heel Doink, the evil Doink, the first one we saw. I could see him main eventing a WrestleMania.
Okay. I would love to see that, but I don't think it would have gotten to that point. I think he would have been Intercontinental at best. If we're talking Attitude Era, European at best. Because you think about a Papa Shango. They were going to bring him back as that gimmick in '98 when he came back as the Godfather.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of glad they did what they did there. Because if Shango came back, it would have been another... Oh, Jesus, who's a good example from the Attitude Era of a horribly failed experiment? Brackus. It could have been a Brackus.
Yeah. You know what, though? I mean, okay, so let's fantasy book here for a second. Since we're in '93 right now, So you have heel Doink, who has all the momentum. So what about if you had booked heel Doink versus The Undertaker at a WrestleMania?
Well, Taker's obviously going over.
But still.
Oh, but at the same time, Taker may not go over in '93 because the streak wasn't really a thing.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, you don't want to change the streak.
No, but nobody knew about it at that point. He had only had 2 WrestleManias at that point.
No, I agree with you. I understand what you're saying, but I just feel as though, I mean, I think that Doink, I'm walking my words back here a little bit now in terms of the championship. He was one of those guys that didn't need the title. He was like Jake Roberts. He didn't need the championship. But he could have definitely been in a prominent spot going up against...
I'll give you The Undertaker, because Undertaker and Gonzalez was so bad and Crush and Doink wasn't a great feud.
Yeah, and then the next year, or not, Taker was off for WrestleMania 10, but then at WrestleMania 11 we saw...
Bundy.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you kept it strong...
WrestleMania 10, we had that stupid mixed tag match with Doink when it was Ray Apollo, and he was with Dink.
And he was a face at that point. So I firmly believe that Doink should have remained a heel for his entire run.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I completely agree with that.
Yeah. All right, so next up, we have Erwin R. Shyster, IRS, defeating the 1-2-3 Kid. And frankly, I forgot this match even happened.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like IRS is kind of the unsung hero of a lot of eras. Mike Rotunda was such a great wrestler, and IRS, as much of a stupid gimmick as that was, you hated him.
Yeah.
Because what's the only guarantees in life? Death and taxes.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to pay the tax man in April, but we all have to do it.
Yeah, he made it legitimate in that sense that because he was such a skilled worker, it sort of harkens back to our conversation we just had about Doink and about The Undertaker. I mean, IRS, again, this is the thing, is we're in the era of occupational gimmicks right now. I mean, we're pretty deep into it. We get further along with the Duke the Dumpster Drossies and the TL Hoppers, obviously, but for this particular...
Don't forget the Goon.
No, not the Goon, of course. And but for this particular era, I feel like some of the workers that were saddled with these gimmicks really made them work.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's other ones that didn't work at all. So,
like Sparky Plug.
I like Bob Holly.
So the next match on the card is scheduled to be Jerry the King Lawler going one-on-one with Bret the Hitman Hart. So Bret Hart comes out. We still get the same Jerry Lawler coming out on crutches, can't compete. He has found a suitable opponent for Bret the Hitman Hart, and it is Erwin R. Shyster, IRS. Jerry Lawler has brought out a dentist before. Why not bring out the tax man? And think about the technical match that Bret Hart and Mike Rotunda are having.
I can't tell if you're swerving me right now.
No, I'm 100% being serious.
All right, so this is the match that's happening?
Yes, this is... I mean... Yeah, IRS wasn't as over as Doink, but if you're going to find a replacement, you don't want it to be somebody that realistically is going to beat Bret Hart. You want it to be somebody who Bret's going to have a good match with, but Bret's going to come out on top with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. I'll allow it.
IRS wins, by the way.
Perfect.
No, I'm kidding. Bret does go over.
All right. I'm just. I'm
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I just read my notes and I screwed up my match order. So that was supposed to go on after the match that we'll say next.
Okay. All right. So what is the match we're actually supposed to be seeing right
now? The next match on the card is supposed to be scheduled for one fall for the Intercontinental Championship. And it is the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels defending the title against Marty Jannetty.
Really?
Yeah. I know that perfect match was good, and I know this is now my second rebooking in a row of taking away a great Mr. Perfect match.
Yeah.
But Marty and Shawn, I did the same thing with Bret and Anvil. I want to see that definitive blow-off on a pay-per-view.
I feel like we've already seen this match so many times at this point, though.
We saw it on fucking Monday Night Raw, where he came out of a crowd and briefly won the title. How about that whole thing doesn't happen?
Yeah.
And we build to this.
Yeah, I get that. I get you want to blow it off. I really do. I mean, it was deserved of a blow off. But the other thing, too, is, I mean, they broke up in January of 92. And now we're in, summer of 93? I mean, at this point, I don't care about this anymore.
I understand that. But when they broke up in 92, did we ever see them touch in 92?
No.
Exactly. So it's almost to a degree like, think of 15 years later when you had Matt Hardy and Edge. We've seen them touch many times, but then Matt Hardy gets released over all that personal bullshit, and he comes back.
Yeah.
Yes, that happened a lot quicker than the Shawn and Marty situation, but in this era, long-term booking was still a thing.
Yeah. I can't argue with the logic. I mean, so is it a match that I would want to see on this card? No, but I understand why you put it on there. I'm assuming that Shawn goes over.
100%.
And so where does that leave Marty? Probably, right back where he was originally anyways.
Probably at the bar.
Yeah, probably so.
Saying to all the barflies that if his daughter wasn't his daughter, he'd bang her.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah. Marty Jannetty.
Yeah.
World's classiest wrestler.
Here's to you.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to go that, then the Bret IRS match.
Well, as long as you're keeping the Bret IRS match, I'm happy.
I know how much you fucking hate that, and I'm sorry, but I would have rather seen Doink go over in a match, and IRS is still going to lose, so I don't think it hurts anyone.
Okie dokie. So the next match we have on the card is Bret the Hitman Hart defeating Doink the Clown, so that's obviously not staying.
So the next match we have on the card would take place a lot, maybe not a lot longer later, but sooner than later. And we have Ludwig Borga, Finland's own, defeating Tatanka and taking the undefeated streak.
So when did he actually lose the undefeated streak?
I believe it happened on a Superstars or a Monday Night Raw in the fall, because I'm sure by Survivor Series it had happened, because Ludwig Borga was on the, oh god, I forgot what they were called, the Foreign Fanatics.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Tatanka was on the All-American.
Yeah.
So I think by that point it had happened, or Tatanka was pulled from the All-American because of a kayfabe injury due to Ludwig Borga.
Right.
So I don't think it hurts to put this on SummerSlam, because Ludwig Borga is debuting. I think this was his debut, was it not, or was it just his pay-per-view debut?
I'm sure he did some dark matches and stuff like that, but I'm fairly certain this was his in-ring debut. He'd done vignettes leading up to it.
And they had kept Tatanka so strong by this point.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Over a year of him being undefeated. Have this guy come in that they're already thinking is going to be, they're going to have him end the streak later anyway. So why not do it on this big pay-per-view and still do it with the one-finger pin?
Yeah.
I thought you would have been way more about this, considering your goddamn heritage.
No, I am. I'm just thinking about it. Like, no, I think it makes sense. I mean, it definitely would have made Ludwig Borga stronger coming out of SummerSlam than going over Marty Jannetty. Like, yeah, Marty Jannetty was going to bump all over the place for him, and obviously he did. He did some spectacular high spots putting over Ludwig. But in this particular case, I think that the bigger star being Tatanka, it made more sense, being undefeated as well. So, yeah, I like this booking.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, next match on the card, we have Jerry Lawler defeating Bret the Hitman Hart. So there's a lot of doubling up on this one.
Next match on the card is the stupid Rest in Peace match with The Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez.
You kept this.
I had to blow off this feud. We couldn't have just gone, Gonzalez literally tried to kill him at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So we had to keep it. We had to blow it off. It stays the same. We never see Giant Gonzalez again.
This is another one of those matches that I completely forgot was even on this card.
Same, and it's not good at all.
I feel like this particular card is very compartmentalized in terms of there's so many different things going on in the company and so many different angles, and they don't all kind of coalesce. So it's kind of strange to me to think that, in some facets, you think about this card, there's like, okay, I love the DiBiase Razor match. I love the tag match. I love these different matches, but then there's other matches where I'm like, I don't know if I blocked them out because they were horrible or I just completely forgot that these feuds were going on.
93 was a weird time for that because there were feuds that happened there was such a cold match at WrestleMania 9 between Bob Backlund and Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
That's probably the most forgotten match on that card. Or Crush and Doink, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
Head Shrinkers and Steiner Brothers. These are ones that you and I remember because we stupidly watch that pay-per-view all the time.
And we enjoy it, yeah.
But if you were to ask anybody else who was a fan, that's probably the shit that they forget.
Yeah, I can't argue that. So, yeah, I guess it makes sense for you to keep it on. Yeah, I don't have much to say about this one. Yeah, it's good you blew it off, I guess, and I'm ready to move on to the next if you want.
100%. I almost put it in a Punjabi prison, but I didn't know if that would be a thing.
I don't think it was in 93. The Smoking Guns, Bart and Billy and Tatanka defeated Bam Bam Bigelow and the Head Shrinkers, and this again, another match I completely forgot was on the card.
Spoiler alert, there's no Smoking Guns on my card.
Okay.
So the next match on the card is a one-on-one match with Bam Bam Bigelow going one-on-one with the Rocket, Owen Hart.
Oh, I love this. Okay, yeah, I'm fine with this. I don't know who's going over in this one. I suspect Owen, but...
No, Bammer.
Yeah.
I got Bammer going over because Owen was still relatively new at this point. Owen's coming out party would realistically be about 3 months later at Survivor Series.
So this is like, in your mind, almost like the WrestleMania 5. This is the Blazer and Perfect match almost. Like it's that.
I would have gone almost more
match.
WrestleMania. Oh God, what was it? Skinner and Owen Hart. That was
8.
Yeah, that's more that where it's there. But it's Bammer and Owen, so you know they're not going to have a bad match.
Not at all.
Bam Bam's coming off of his loss to Bret at King of the Ring, so it's almost like him sort of getting something back by beating his younger brother.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that a lot. I'm just laughing to myself right now because it's so funny, our knowledge, our recall about certain events. Like 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah, that's it. That's right.
Yeah.
8.
I thought it was, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love this match. I think it would have been, tremendous improvement on some of what we've seen. I mean, you already have both guys on the card; they're in the building, so why wouldn't you have this match?
Yeah, and now you understand why Owen and Horowitz didn't stay on as the dark match.
I'm just glad we didn't hear Horowitz wins.
No, that'd be a couple of years later.
Yeah. Well, we are blasting through this card pretty quick.
Don't worry, we're not at the main event yet. I have another match.
Okay. The main event, or that's the next match on the card here, is Lex Luger defeating Yokozuna by count out.
We're not there yet.
Okay.
We have one more tag match to kind of get people in the mood. They want to make a snack. They want to get some popcorn, take a pee, call their mothers, whatever they want to do.
To coin a phrase from Bobby Heenan, where he'd always say, when somebody was really, like when the main event was going on, nobody's at the concession stand. Nobody's asking for autographs. No one's looking for souvenirs or hot dogs. Everybody's staring at this match.
We have the Rock and Roll Express going 1-on-1 with the Head Shrinkers. Sorry, 2-on-2 with the Head Shrinkers.
Were they finished in ECW at this point?
Sure.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just going back to an ECW booking I did a few months ago.
Oh, I'm well aware.
Yeah, I can see this. I mean,
it was a weird time where the Rock and Roll were feuding with the Heavenlies and with the Midnights, and it was still kind of Smoky Mountain. And
yeah, didn't they have a match? Didn't they open Survivor Series '93?
I totally think they did.
Yeah,
with the Heavenlies.
I think so.
So I'm like, all right, well, they're already affiliated. Why not get them on there? And surprisingly enough, I have them going over the Head Shrinkers.
Really?
Yeah, I feel like I've been very heel heavy on this, so I gave them the pop. Marty lost, so let's have some rock and roll anyway.
Yeah. Okay. I don't hate the match. I mean, the match to me is basically pretty good. You can definitely see the Samoans they're very agile for their size, so they're going to look great going up against Rock and Roll. Obviously, they'll play the heavies in the match, and then you'll have the Rock and Roll bumping all over the place. So yeah, I don't hate the match, and again, I think it's a nice little buffer between. So makes all the sense. I like it.
Well, it's main event time.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what do you think I did before I tell you what I did? And then I can show you my notes. They're right beside me, if you think I'm fucking with you.
Well, we had discussed off air the booking of this particular card, and I was very adamant that I wanted to book it for one reason, and you clearly haven't done that.
I didn't do Bret and Hogan, no.
Yeah, and so we're going to have a discussion about that after we finish.
I'm not going to lie. As we were talking about King of the Ring and everything like that earlier, I realized my mistake, and I apologize for it.
That's okay. There's nothing to apologize for. It's your card.
So the main event of this is Hulk Hogan defending the WWF Championship against Made in the USA Lex Luger.
Oh, my God. Where's Yoko?
I'm just fucking with you.
Okay.
The main event is Lex Luger and Yokozuna.
I'm assuming it stays the same.
I have Lex Luger winning cleanly.
Really?
Yeah.
Boy.
I know it's a bit of a flip-flop considering in 93 that would be Bret, Hulk, Yoko, Luger. So 4 in a year, which at the time was quite a bit. But you're attaching the Rocket to him. I feel like that's what hurt his momentum all the way, was they never actually gave it to him. Like, you look at that 93 match and how over Luger was. They had him coming out to Stars and Stripes Forever. It's not like he was coming out to his generic theme song that he would come out to later. Like, he was being billed as the next big American superstar. There was no denying that. And they never pulled the trigger. I think they fucked up on him. And you know me, I'm not a Luger fan.
No, you're not. Neither. Well, I think I'm a bigger Luger fan than you are.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. 2 schools of thought here.
Mm-hmm.
The first one being, I get why you put the title on Luger. It makes sense in a certain way, but my problem with it is you're now having Yoko drop the title
to the two people who are going to be the faces of the company. He can beat the one who's no longer the face of the company because he's the old, tired, put him out to pasture type.
Yeah.
But then you have Brett and Lex, who they're clearly the ones that they want to go with. 94 Rumble would show us that.
Okay, fine. But then where do you go with Yoko after this? I feel like his jets are cooled now. He's lost 2 guys clean. Right? Like, I just don't... And one guy, unannounced. So you're keeping the WrestleMania 9 booking the same, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but the WrestleMania 9 booking is fine to a degree because he's already wrestled. So
Yeah.
Hogan had a disadvantage, which is why he was able to beat Hogan at King of the Ring.
Yeah. No, okay. So I'm 100% on board.
And he's already beat Brett, so it's not like he lost to Brett. He beat Brett at Mania 9.
Yeah. No, I'm on board. I'm on board with Luger winning the title. Excuse me. I don't know how I feel about Yoko losing. Because I feel like you're wanting to build up the monster heel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I would have held off till... what you could have done is maybe done like Luger win the title at Survivor Series, maybe.
Yeah, but at this time, Survivor Series was still all traditional tags. And
no, not all.
But I like
91, we had Taker versus Hogan.
Okay, well, that was terrible.
Yeah.
And 92 wasn't great either.
Mm-hmm.
93, we're coming back, and I like the
93 sucked too.
No, but I like the Foreign Fanatics versus the All-Americans. I like that thing, so why screw with it?
Yeah.
So you're still keeping the Lex and Yoko feud going, and then you get to the Rumble. Maybe you have Yoko win back the title there, and then you have Brett be the sole winner of the Rumble.
Yeah.
And then you build to Brett and Yoko at Mania again, where Brett can finally beat him.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, it's your card.
I know that's a lot of hot-shotting, and you're not a fan of it, and I'm not really either, but I think that makes sense. And then you have Brett go on a long run in 94.
Yeah.
You don't have him drop it to Backlund. You don't have Nash beat Backlund 4 days later in Madison Square Garden. You let Brett hold it until Diesel is fully ready. Oh, we're getting real long-term right now. And then you have Diesel pull the trigger. And then you have another feud where Brett can start chasing for it again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get what you're saying.
I realize I fucked up by not doing Brett and Hogan.
No, you didn't fuck up. It's not that. It's just for me, it's like, to me, this is the obvious place to do it. So it's like, it's nothing against you. I know you didn't do it on purpose, and also you can book whatever you want because it's your card. I just think for me, I mean, the Brett Hogan thing would have been, I mean, I would argue that it's probably, and I know this is not going to be for you at all, but for me, probably the biggest match that we never saw that I wanted to see.
That could have happened.
I would rather have seen in their prime in 93, Hogan and Brett. I would have rather seen that versus Hogan Austin, Goldberg Austin, a lot of those kinds of matches. We just did the Invasion list a few weeks ago.
I 100% agree with this. I can't think of another one that would have made sense. I don't think it would have been a great match because Hogan and Brett were such different styles.
Okay, so let me ask you hypothetically then. So if we had seen the match, Hogan versus Brett,
Yeah.
and let's say, just for argument's sake, that Hogan does the job. I'm not saying he's going to tap to the sharpshooter. I'm not, that's obviously out of the realm of possibility. But let's say that he does the job to Brett. Mm-hmm. Do you think that changes Brett's trajectory at all, or changes his momentum? I mean, he was already the face of the company pretty much at this point anyway, but do you think that makes him a bigger star, or do you think it kind of all washes out to be the same?
I think because it was 1993 and Hogan was already being booed and not the star he was, it just keeps playing out the same.
I agree. I think it might have changed things a little bit, but I really don't think that it would have made, at the end of the day, it wouldn't have been something that, catapulted Brett into another stratosphere. And you have to remember as well, like, a lot of people crap on Brett and even Diesel and Shawn for this time period between 93 and 96. The company wasn't drawing huge numbers. In 96, they're doing a lot better than people perceive.
Yeah.
But
that's because of Vader.
Yeah. Vader and Goldust.
Yeah.
I just personally feel that it wouldn't have mattered who was in that spot at that time.
fair.
It wouldn't have mattered who it was. You're just coming off the steroid trial. You're coming off of the Ring Boy scandal. You're coming off of all this stuff that's been happening in the last couple of years. Plus, you're just coming off of like the crescendo of the Hulkamania run. The business is secular. It doesn't stay hot for forever.
Now,
you have ebbs and flows.
Had a heel, and not Yokozuna in the shitty way that he did it at King of the Ring, had a heel been the one to defeat Hogan, say at SummerSlam, would that have changed it? Like, would that heel have then become the new monster who could do anything? Like, I'm trying to think of an example at the time. And weirdly enough, the one that comes to mind is Ludwig Borga.
I was just thinking the same thing, but no.
Okay, you wanted to talk about Doink earlier. Could you see Doink beating Hogan?
No.
Not even, say it's not a title match.
Hogan would never job out to a clown. I don't see it.
Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah, but like an actual clown
Circus
as opposed to a circus clown. Yeah.
Fair.
I'm trying to think of who might have been on the roster at that point.
Can you imagine how terrible a Hulk Hogan Giant Gonzalez match would have been?
As soon as you said that, I thought about that Raw 15th anniversary where Hogan came out and slammed Great Khali, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of the same thing. Although I think Khali could work circles around Gonzalez. Yeah.
See, that's the thing about Giant Gonzalez. Like, when he was El Elegante, I believe that was his WCW name.
Yep.
He wasn't great, but he wasn't as bad then. I think it's because he was a little younger. He wasn't wearing that stupid muscle bodysuit.
Yeah.
With the body hair all over. Like, that was...
He looked like an extra from Cats.
Or just James Corden in Cats.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'd make that comparison, but I hear what you're saying. So I feel like I really thought that I was going to have more to say about the Hogan-Brett thing. I mean, I'm surprised you agree with me that it's one of the matches that should have happened that didn't, because I know that you're not particularly a fan of either one guy, but...
I'm growing on... That's just Scott Steiner's penis on our screen. I know that... Full
disclosure, folks, we have SummerSlam 1993 on the back row as we're recording this in person for the first time ever in the history of the great Good Friends, Better Enemies podcast.
The Great Friends, Good Friends, Better Enemies podcast.
That's right. Well, we've had a couple of talks.
We sure have, and we'll probably end it with another shot because that's what we do. But I don't know, man. Like, okay, so we've covered the card. Now we're going to do what we do and just shoot the shit for a little while because fuck it, it's our show. You came to listen.
Yeah.
Deal with it. Grow up. Wendy's, I'm still waiting for my JVCs. We should get some later, actually. But like 93, you got to look at it. The tag division was almost hotter than the singles division. Because it was that weird era where you were done with the Demolitions, you were done with the Hart Foundations, you were done with the Rockers, you had the Steiners, you had the Heavenly Bodies, you had the Head Shrinkers, you had the Smoking Guns, you had the Rock and Rolls, as we were talking about for a little bit, you had the Quebecers.
Yeah. We did get a lot of tag team action in this time. You're right. And there were certainly acts like the Steiners who are more over than some of the singles acts in the company. I do agree with that.
Yeah. But there were also heel teams that were, to a degree, more over as heels. Like the Quebecers. Everybody hated them.
Yeah.
Than some of the heel wrestlers. Like, did everybody hate Giant Gonzalez? I know we're going to harp on him for a long time. Yeah, they did. But not because he was terrible. Or not because he was a good heel. It's because he was terrible.
Well, yeah.
And he tried to commit murder.
Yeah, I'll kill you. Yeah, I can't argue with any of these points, honestly. I feel as though 93, you booked a pretty good card. I mean, with the exception of the Brett Hogan thing that, was an obvious oversight.
But we got Brett IRS.
Yes, we got a house show match from 1991 in Madison Square Garden.
Well, it was good enough for Madison Square Garden.
That's fair. That's very fair. And, Brett and IRS would not have been a bad match. So, yeah, I feel as though this card basically came together quite well. I think it makes sense for you to have Luger go over. That goes without saying. I mean, would I have had Yoko continue on his monster heel run? Probably. But you bring a lot of logic and sense into why you put Luger over. So he wouldn't be a long-term champion, obviously.
Well, we just kind of spoke about it, probably
Yeah.
till the Rumble.
Yeah, probably till the Rumble, and then you'd have somebody go. I don't know if it'd be Yoko or who'd go over him, but somebody go over him, and then have maybe Brett challenge and win the fight title.
Yoko go over him, and then have Brett finally beat Yoko at Mania 10.
Yeah.
And then you have Brett go on the long run. We just said that.
No, I know.
How many goddamn drinks have you had? Son?
No, I know that, but I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily have to be Yoko, is what I'm saying.
That's fair, but Vader wasn't there yet.
Vader was not there yet. Maybe we could have brought Sid in.
Well, everybody, that's the end of our live episode.
Yeah, so, well, I enjoyed that booking. It was spot on and well done, and it was indeed a humdinger. But Tyrone, I believe that you have something for me next week. Which we...
Oh, it's this. Yes, we do. And there is a special potential guest joining us for this one.
That's right. Yeah, nothing's confirmed yet, folks. There's a few different irons in the fire as we speak right now. We may be having a special guest joining us next week, but if not next week and then in the coming weeks. So we're not 100% sure about what our format's going to be next week yet.
So, all right, we'll just announce it. Jay, we've been talking about Vader the entire time. You're going to do 96, bud.
Well, it's not 100% I'm doing 96. It might be our special guest doing 96.
96 will be done next week. And I swear to God, if Vader is not the champion by the end of this, I will drive back down to Markham and throw something through your fucking door.
What if I'm not booking it?
I will drive to wherever our special guest is and throw something through his goddamn door.
I love it. That should be fun. That's a great card. It's my favorites. One of my favorite SummerSlams of all time. In fact, I told our special guest potential booker that I wouldn't change a thing. I think it's perfect.
It's so far from perfect.
And there's a lot of people, including Tyrone, that disagree with me. So it's basically going to be a 2-on-1 handicap match next week, ladies and gentlemen, with me most likely doing the job. But I'm very excited to see where we come up with booking on this, because I have to say there's not a lot I would change.
I don't know, man. Like, first thing that comes to my mind is having Stone Cold Steve Austin on the pre-show.
See, the thing with me is, and I've discussed this a couple of times, is I kind of like the idea of Austin being as hot as he was. Put him on the pre-show. Get buy rates by getting Austin on there. People are going to be excited to see one of their new up-and-coming stars go up against Yokozuna.
Yeah, but they're seeing him for free on the free-for-all. So if that's what they want to see is the up-and-coming star, they're not going to buy the goddamn pay-per-view to watch Shawn Michaels, Vader, Bret Hart, Savio Vega, Owen Hart, Savio Vega. All of these guys who just, none of them are up-and-coming stars. They are already established.
Well, if you'd had your way, you would have had Savio Vega defending the championship.
He'd be a 4-time champion by then.
He absolutely would have. He would have been. And, you know what?
He would have beat Shawn, Bret, Yoko.
Clean.
100%. There would have been a weird, that's who Doink could have beaten Savio for the title.
Oh, a face Doink versus Savio for the championship in 96 would have been a barn burner for sure.
Dink would have been the champ somehow by the end of it.
Yeah, Dink would have been good as a hardcore champion, I think.
Or the light heavyweight, cruiserweight.
Bump.
We've seen it.
He'd show up in a Hot Wheels. Well, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've basically done 1993 SummerSlam justice this week. We are having a blast being together for the first time in 3 years, being in the same room together. We are certainly excited to record together, and we are so thankful that you've stopped by on the road to SummerSlam, which is happening tonight on, well, I guess Peacock in the States and the WWE Network here in Canada. And for those of you buying on pay-per-view, then that's wonderful.
Is that still a thing? WWE on pay-per-view?
I think so. It certainly is for AEW. But with that being said, Tyrone has poured us out one more of these delicious bourbons. We will bid you adieu till next week and enjoy the rebooking of 1996 SummerSlam. Tyrone, any final thoughts?
Don't forget to find us on our socials, kids. Instagram, good_enemies. Twitter, good_enemies. Facebook, Good Friends, Better Enemies podcast. And as always, for everything Good Friends, Better Enemies and Count It Out, you go to countitout7.com.
And for myself, for Tyrone, for Bourbon, for Hulk Hogan versus Bret the Hitman Hart, which never happened, for Doink the Clown, Savio Vega as a 4-time champion, for Wendy's and their Asiago Chicken Ranch, and for, thankfully, this probably being the last part of the evening that Tyrone and I are going to remember. You've been listening to the Good Friends, Better Enemies podcast.
Is it even evening yet? Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye. Oh, goddamn bourbon.